Assalamu alaikum to everyone, and hi to others, and welcome. Okay, so today is Sunday, the 23rd of March, 2019, and me and a few of the brothers, we're gonna go and support the Muslim rally over in Manhattan today, Times Square, in support of the Muslims who was killed by the terrorists down in New Zealand. So you'll get various little clips of me throughout the day and eventually edit it together. Assalamu alaikum. And inshallah everyone has a good day today and a peaceful one. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. I'm not Imam, the Imam. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, I know.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. How you doing? Alhamdulillah. Just made it here.
Sound 1 2 right now. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Excuse us.
Can you hear me? All the way in the back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me from 48th Street? All the way in the back. Can you hear me? All right. Good.
Excuse us. Excuse us. Thank you. Excuse us. Excuse us. Excuse us. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Nori. Assalamu alaikum. How you doing, Sheikh? Nah. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah. Excuse my now. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.
He's like the.
Assalamu alaikum. Excuse my left. Excuse my left. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah.
Raja, why don't you start giving the chanting? Well, they did that. I think they aired it. Let's get back to it. It's aired. You have people from New Zealand. Yeah, when I was coming there, African people, I asked them. No, I asked them. You're from New Zealand, and yes. I said, thank you.
Everybody speaks.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
That wasn't loud enough. I want all of New York City to hear you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So, before we start the program, I'm actually going to start off with a few chants. Is that okay? All right, awesome. Muslim blood is not cheap. For the victims we will speak. Louder, you guys gotta be much louder than that. Muslim blood is not cheap. For the victims we will speak. Muslim blood is not cheap. For the victims we will speak. Muslim blood is not cheap. For the victims we will speak. Muslim blood is not cheap. For the victims we will speak. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Muslim bigotry has got to go.
Muslim bigotry has got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. White supremacy has got to go.
White supremacy.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Muslim bigotry has got to go.
Muslim bigotry has to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. White supremacy has got to go. Guys, we have to be much more energetic than that. I just want to remind you all why we're here. 50 Muslims were killed in a masjid simply for being alive. Is that okay?
No!
Is that okay?
No!
So the response is this rally tonight. The response is that you guys now have to project your voices. We are tired of having other people speak for us. Is that right? Is that right? White man's wars brought us here. It's not Muslims you should fear. White man's wars brought us here. It's not Muslims you should fear. White man's wars brought us here. It's not Muslims you should fear. Muslims make this country strong. We've been here all along. Muslims make this country strong. We've been here all along. White supremacy is the enemy. Love and tolerance is the remedy. White supremacy is the enemy. Love and tolerance is the remedy.
Assalamu alaikum. We can do better than this. Assalamu alaikum. Muslims make this country strong. We've been here all along. Muslims make this country strong. We've been here all along. Say it loud, say it clear. Muslims are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Muslims are welcome here. We are all immigrants. Human rights, we insist.
All immigrants, human rights, we insist.
We are all immigrants. Human rights, we insist. White man wars brought us here. It's not Muslims you should fear. White man wars brought us here. It's not Muslims you should fear. White man wars brought us here. It's not Muslims you should fear. White man's war brought us here. It's not bigotry's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Hey, hey, ho, ho. White supremacy's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. White supremacy's got to go. Hey, hey. White supremacy's got to go. Hey, hey. White supremacy's got to go. Hey, hey.
Yo, white supremacy gotta go.
Ho, ho. White supremacy's got to go.
Hey, ho, ho. White supremacy's got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Islamophobia's got to go.
Hey, ho, ho. Islamophobia's got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Islamophobia's got to go.
Ho, ho. Islamophobia's got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Islamophobia's got to go.
Islamophobia's got to go.
Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Muslim bigotry's got to go. Louder than that. You guys can definitely do louder than that. Hey, hey, ho, ho. White supremacy's got to go.
White supremacy's got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. White supremacy's got to go.
White supremacy's got to go.
White supremacy is the enemy.
Supremacy is the enemy.
Love and tolerance is the remedy.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. MashaAllah, as I look out into this crowd, all I see is beautiful diversity. I see all races, black, white, brown, yellow, MashaAllah. And I'm sure amongst the crowd are not only Muslims, but we have Jews, Christians, and people of all faiths. This is what makes our country great. This is what makes any country great. Tolerance, respect, open-mindedness, and the opportunity to engage with other people that come from overseas and learn their cultures and ways and food. It is unfathomable how the most tolerant and just religion on the face of this earth is under attack. It is under attack by the antithesis of Islam. It is under attack by ugly, close-minded, intolerant people. Racism and xenophobia have led to the Islamophobia this country and the world is suffering from. It is the white supremacist ideology that has been the root cause of world bloodshed and destruction. So we are here today to stand united against Islamophobia, racism, and xenophobia. We are here today to stand strong in the face of whoever wants to harm us, Muslims and immigrants all. We are not scared. We will protect our people and we will be an example of tolerance in this country. We are here to say enough with the hate speech, Mr. Trump. Enough with the hate speech, Mr. Trump. You have empowered and emboldened a people with an ideology who need to fester alone in their ignorance and misery. Islam is beautiful. Diversity is beautiful. Islam and Muslims not only make this country great, Islam makes the world great. So I welcome you all. Thank you for coming. We will rally here until Asr. We will pray Asr, and then inshallah we will march to the CNN building by Columbus Circle behind this beautiful banner displaying the names of the 50 innocent souls from New Zealand.
ask that you please do not confront anyone from the outside who wants to start trouble. Within and around the crowd, there are security personnel. Please try to bring it to their attention, and we will handle it with the cooperation of the police department. Let's have a peaceful rally and march to show the world that we are united against Islamophobia, racism, bigotry, and xenophobia. We will start with Quran recitation from Imam Walid al-Batrawish from Dar al-Islah, New Jersey.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قد خلت من قبلكم سنن فسيروا في الأرض فانظروا كيف كان عاقبة المكذبين. هذا بيان للناس وهدى وموعظة للمتقين. ولا تهنوا ولا تحزنوا وأنتم الأعلون إن كنتم مؤمنين. إن يمسسكم قرح فقد مس القوم قرح مثله وتلك الأيام نداولها بين الناس وليعلم الله الذين آمنوا ويتخذ منكم شهداء والله لا يحب الظالمين. وليمحص الله الذين آمنوا ويمحق الكافرين. صدق الله العظيم. Inshallah, we are going to read Surah Al-Fatiha for our brothers and sisters who died in New Zealand, our shuhada, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask God Almighty to put them in the highest place of paradise, Ameen. Let's say together, inshallah, Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وذكرنا وأنثانا. اللهم احقن دماء المسلمين. اللهم ارحم شهداءنا أجمعين. اللهم يا ربنا اجعلهم في جوارك. اللهم اجعلهم إلى جوارك وأسكنهم الفردوس الأعلى من الجنة. اللهم أسكنهم الفردوس الأعلى من الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
I want to hear you and be jealous that they're not here right now. Assalamu alaikum. So, my name is Hassam. I'm with Majlis al-Shura, Islamic Leadership Council of New York. I'm the outreach director. You know, just to start things off, inshallah, when we talk about solidarity for the Muslim community, oftentimes we restrict the solidarity to moments of brilliance and not to consistency. Solidarity with the Muslim community, solidarity with all communities affected by white supremacy, affected by bigotry, affected by violence, needs to span more than one moment, needs to span more than one tragedy. The violence that occurred in New Zealand was not a one-time thing. The violence that occurred in New Zealand, though it was done by an individual, is a violence that has been repeated all over the world against the Muslim community, all over the world, not by individuals, but by governments. We must remember the Islamophobia that influenced this white supremacist to kill 50 people in New Zealand is the same Islamophobia that followed the coverage of 9/11 that resulted in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan that have killed 1 million people, 1 million innocent people. If you want to be in solidarity with the Muslim community, you have to be in solidarity with the entire community, not just the Muslims who die in the West, but the Muslims who die all over the world every single day. If you want to be in solidarity with the Muslim community, it cannot be just when we are killed by guns, but when we are killed by bombs. Last year, the US government dropped a bomb on a masjid in Syria, and it killed 120 people. The US provides weapons to Saudi Arabia, to the UAE, that has caused a man-made famine in Yemen. This is unacceptable. We provide $3 billion a year to Israel to build walls against Palestinians, to kill Palestinians in occupation, under occupation. If you are against the walls being built against Mexico, but you are not against the walls being built against Palestinian people, then I'm sorry, you are not in solidarity with the Muslim community. Now more than ever, we must stand strong. We must speak the truth. We must let the world know enough is enough. We're not coming here just as your peaceful Muslim. We're coming here as Muslims who demand justice, who demand our rights, who demand the God-given rights of all of creation. To the black community, to the Jewish community, to all the oppressed people around the world. And that is just what we need to remember. We need to remember the violence that has occurred to us, and we need to stand strong in the face of it. And we cannot cower, we cannot hide our identity, because when we do that, we allow the people who have spread this bigotry and this nonsense to win. Those who are complicit, from the media, from CNN, from the New York Times, all of these media outlets who say they're against Donald Trump, but they have propagated hate and the violence and anti-immigration against Muslims, against all the communities in the world for the last 20 years. Before I invite our first speaker, when I went to the protests in 2016 against the Muslim ban, the people there, they refused to chant the chants that are important to our community, that reflect the pain of our community. When we would chant from Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go, nobody chanted with us. So I want New York to hear you guys say, from Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. Say it!
All the walls has to
Say it
go.
louder. From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go.
Palestine to Mexico has to go.
War against white supremacy, not with Muslims overseas. All right. I took up too much time, unfortunately. Our next speaker, our first speaker is Imam Isa of Masjid Taha in Long Island. So please, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah. I'm not going to talk too long. I just want to start this rally off by saying that we want to send a message to the powers that be. We want them to make and understand very clear that we are one brotherhood, and that whatever hurts any of our brothers anywhere on the planet, it hurts all of us. I just want to take the time to read something to you that took place on Fox News. This statement was by Janine Pirro. She was attacking the Congresswoman Omar, for her hijab, the wearing of hijab. She said, think about it. Umar wears hijab. Is her adherence to this Islamic doctrine indicative of her adherence to the Sharia law, which in itself is unethical to the United States Constitution? This is pure bigotry. Pure bigotry. The wearing of the hijab is not a contradiction to the Constitution. It is something that the women do out of purity. And if purity is against the Constitution, then maybe we need to talk about changing the Constitution. I want to close out with making a demand. I want to demand that this woman never be allowed to be on Fox News again. She is a bigot. And the fact that the President of the United States backs what she had said, it makes him a bigot too. We've got a lot of work to do. We must stand together. We must be resolved. We must be strong in our resistance. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the strength to overcome the obstacles, inshallah, that are in front of us. May Allah bless you all and may He keep you strong. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam, ya Imam.
How are you guys feeling tonight? Today, rather. You feeling energized? We have to keep this energy going, all right? No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA!
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 Alright, because we have a lot of speakers, I want to introduce the next one. Please remember, speakers, you all have around 2 minutes because we have so much content we want to present tonight. Sheikh Ahmed from the Arab American Federation. Please give a round of applause.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Am I loud? Can everybody else be loud, please? Excellent. I want you to say with me, thank you, Jacinda.
Thank you, Jacinda.
Thank you, Jacinda. There are some New Zealanders here in the crowd. Some of my friends told me that there are New Zealanders here. Thank you, New Zealanders. Give them a shout loud. I want you to know that the Arab community, even though it is less than 20% of the Muslim world, bears 90 or over 90% of the pain of the Muslims around the globe. All the wars, all the money spent, all the bombing is on the heads of Arabs. All of the only piece of land now occupied is Palestine, is an Arab place. Brothers and sisters,
tell the white supremacists that unfortunately or fortunately there's only one race, and that is the human race. Only one race, and that is the human race. Now, I would like to tell Mr. Trump, so that we do not miss it. He saw us busy with the massacre in Europe that is caused by the climate of Islamophobia in the West and specifically in the United States. I want to tell Mr. Trump that he doesn't own the Golden Heights. He cannot give it to anybody else. He does not own the land of Palestine. He cannot give it to anybody else. Brothers and sisters, tell Mr. Trump that Al-Quds will always be the capital of Palestine. There is no matter what will happen, Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Thank you so much. Many thanks to Mrs. Shura Islamic Leadership Council and CARE New York and ICNA and MUNA and all of these Muslim organizations that are now being attacked by Saudi Arabia, that is killing Yemenis, trying to go to the United States now to bomb Muslims even in the West. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Jazakallah khair. From Gaza to New Zealand, human rights we demand. From Gaza to New Zealand, human rights we demand. Next up, I would like to introduce Michael Letwin. He is from Jews for Palestinian Right of Return and Labor for Palestine.
Wa alaikum assalam.
We are here today to express our solidarity and our mourning, not just for the victims in New Zealand, but for all the victims that were previously discussed here today, because the so-called war on terror, Islamophobia, anti-black and brown racism, and Zionism are all one thing. It's not an accident. It's not just one person or a few people who go into a mosque or a black church or a synagogue and massacre. They're not insane. They're not lone wolves. They are guided missiles fired by racist institutional ideologies, the purpose of which is to dominate and divide us at home and to wage unjust, brutal, imperial wars abroad. The people of New Zealand who died are no different than the victims at the Gaza March of Return, who were bombed and shot on Friday and every Friday for the past year. And before that, the tens of thousands of people in Palestine, the million-plus people in Iraq, the hundreds of thousands in Afghanistan, all of whom are victims of this system of oppression and injustice. And that's why, as the speaker in the beginning said, we must not only call out those who commit the crimes like those in New Zealand, but the powers behind them. The AIPAC conference of terrorists that is meeting today in Washington, D.C., and where, thankfully, Representative Ilhan Omar and many others are not speaking, and yet the mayor of New York City, de Blasio, is speaking. Where Chuck Schumer from New York is speaking. Where Gerald Nadler is there to push his anti-BDS bill, the unconstitutional attack on free speech in Palestine. And that's what we say. From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. Thank you.
We have, you know, really loyal allies, really helpful allies that show us what true solidarity looks like, and we thank you, and may God bless you for all the work you do for our community, for all the work you've done for the oppressed, for all the work that you continue to do, and He bless you in your efforts. Next up, we have Dr. Abdel Hafiz Jamil. He is the president of Majlis al-Shura, Islamic Leadership Council of New York. So please welcome our president. Thank you.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As you may know, the first thing that we should start with always is to say about those who were killed, Allah yarhamhum. May Allah accept them among the righteous, and may Allah put them in the highest level of paradise. And we have to say that from here, from New York, we would like to send, on behalf of the Muslim community of New York, on behalf of those who are for peace, on those who are against Islamophobia, those who are against racism, those who are against xenophobia, and those who are for justice and equality. On behalf of all of those, I would like to send our thanks, I would like to send our appreciation to the government of New Zealand. On behalf of you all, we would like to tell them, thank you very much for being there. Thank you very much for standing tall in support of the Muslims. Thank you very much for giving the world a lesson. Thank you very much that you are giving a lesson to our government here, who are still hanging back thousands of years back. It is 2019 and we're almost in 2020. There are still some people who make a differentiation between who is believing in that and who is not believing in that. And we have to say that we are Muslims and we are proud to be a Muslim, and we have to say that we will be Muslims and stay Muslims. And we thank our allies, Jewish, Christians, and all those who come in the support of the Muslim community. Would like to tell them, you are our friends, and we know our friends. And on behalf of the Muslim community in New York, would like to tell to all our allies, thank you very much for being with us today, yesterday, and tomorrow. Our allies show that there is a unity, and our unity as Muslims is beyond the reach of Islamophobes, because united we will be successful. United we will be successful, and we will be recognizing our friends, those who come to our support, those who come to stand with us in our struggle for equality, in our struggle for justice and constitutional rights. I would like at last to say to all the organizations, to you all who are here, thank you very much for being here today. Thank you very much for standing today in support of the Muadi. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So before I begin, I just want to make a very short announcement. You see these signs at the front? people behind you can't see. So if you could move the signs to the side or lower them so the people behind you can have a clearer view. Thank you guys. We want the signs to be pushing outwards so people around you can see. It's really important that everyone can get a view. All right. Thank you guys so much. And you'll use the signs later, inshallah, when we march. And a quick announcement as well. We have a hashtag, United Against Islamophobia. When you are posting photos, when you are taking videos, make sure you are using the hashtag United Against Islamophobia. This rally is for us primarily, but it's also to show the world that we are here, we are present, and we will make and demand our voices to be heard. And I just want to make another point. Every one of the speakers here have made something very clear. Islamophobia is not just Islamophobia and white supremacy rather is not just one man carrying a gun and going into a masjid, right? It's an ideology that is at the root of major institutions even within this country.
Right. Absolutely correct.
White supremacy and Islamophobia is an enemy we cannot see. It is something very subtle that happens in our interactions every single day. So you all have to remember that although the enemy is the man, the white man with a gun, it is also the institutions that uplift and empower that man. It is the media that empower him to make those statements and to allow him a voice and the legitimacy to be able to kill us and to have the platform he had. And I just wanted to remind you that he actually posted all of his actions beforehand. It was visible what he was going to do, but of course censorship only happens with justice and only happens when Muslims want to raise their voices. So I know how important it is for allies and those in office to support our work. So I'm going to introduce the 24th Assemblyman, David Whipren, to come up and say a few words.
I have a very large Bangladeshi and Pakistani Muslim community in my assembly district. I have the largest mosque in New York City, the Jamaica Muslim Center, in my district. I was there in solidarity after the tragedy in New Zealand, identifying with my Muslim brothers and sisters. Just this past week in Albany, we declared March 23rd, which was yesterday, Pakistan Day in the state of New York. I have a bill in Albany which has passed about 7 years in a row but never got out of the state Senate. But it will get out of the state Senate this year, I predict, with the new state Senator John Liu sponsoring it in the state Senate. I call it the Religious Garb Bill. It prohibits discrimination in employment, in promotion, in private and public employment for wearing religious garbs like hijabs or headscarves. It's very important to our sister in the Muslim community. We all know of discrimination for wearing hijabs, and it's very subtle. You know, believe it or not, if there's a uniform for a particular agency, or if there's a uniform for a private employer, they can legally discriminate against our sisters in the Muslim community. And that's outrageous! So I'm optimistic that the bill will pass for the first time in the Senate, and then go to Governor Cuomo and become law. But I'm really here to show solidarity with my brothers and sisters in the Muslim community, to fight Islamophobia wherever it rears its ugly head. I've been fighting for the Muslim community since 9/11, and of course we know the discrimination that occurred after 9/11. We have to stand together anytime there's a hate crime. There was an imam from the Bangladeshi community that was murdered in my district a couple of years ago. I was there. I will stand with you. Whenever hate rears its ugly head, whenever there's discrimination, I will be with you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, Assemblyman.
That you will start a movement worldwide that is going to stand for justice, that's going to stand against hate, bigotry, Islamophobia. I want to take this opportunity, brothers and sisters, to thank everyone who's really come up to these rallies across the nation, across the world. It's really a moment of hope for humanity, to see people of all faith and color and nationalities to stand for the right of people. My brothers and sisters, I want to share with you 5 points, but before I say that, I want to really stress on this, and I would like to appreciate what the people of New Zealand has done. The people of New Zealand really showed the world what it means to be genuine, what it means to be people of decency. They stood by people when it was time. I want to really congratulate the Prime Minister for her courageous remarks. I will tell you, my brothers and sisters, on behalf of the entire Muslim community in North America, ICNA and Helping Hand reached New Zealand and Christchurch 3 days after the event. We were there to deliver the condolences, the message of solidarity with the people. My brothers and sisters, today I want to share with you 5 demands I would like to really have. Number 1, we want us all to be in solidarity with these people. We stand firm. We stand shoulder to shoulder, all people of all faith. Number 2, we want all people of conscience to categorically reject hate, reject Islamophobia, reject bigotry, racism, injustice anywhere in the world. Number 3, I would like to call upon our lawmakers to enact laws and enforce them to ensure security and safety of every person in this nation. It's just not about Muslims only.
That's right.
Number 4, I want to call upon our law enforcement to ensure the security and safety of our masajid, places of worship, of our institutions and organizations. Number 5, my brothers and sisters, this is the moment where the Muslim community needs to shine. This divisive policy, this polarization we see around us, it's going to take us in the wrong direction. We cannot afford that. I call upon the Muslim community who has the ability to bring people together, who has the ability to unite people. And this is what we are doing today. I call upon the leadership of the Muslim community to stand up tall, to stand up for what is right, because injustice anywhere in the world is a threat to justice everywhere. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you. So I'm going to do some chants before I introduce the next speaker. Are you guys ready? Yeah! All right. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it. If we don't get it. If we don't get it. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. so much. Now I'm going to introduce Sister Afaf Nashid, who is the Executive Director of CARE New York.
Good afternoon, New York City.
Good afternoon, sister.
Peace be upon you and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Bismillah, in the name of God, the most merciful, the most gracious. My brothers and my sisters, less than 10 days ago, the ideology of white supremacy saturated with the ideology of Islamophobia came together. And there was a violent reaction that shattered the peace of the prayers of 50 and hundreds more of Muslims in the country and around the world. And they were shattered, those prayers, simply because those people belonged to an Abrahamic faith called Islam. And for those that passed away, us Muslims say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To Allah we belong and to God is our return. But for the rest of us who stand here today, the fathers, the sons, the mothers, the co-workers, the neighbors, the daughters, the New Zealanders, the Americans, the New Yorkers around the world, we still cry out. We cry in mourning and we cry over the senseless loss of life. But the burden upon us today is a heavy one. We have witnessed way too much, especially in this country. The cries that have resulted from the consequences of an ideology of hatred. This twisted ideology that somehow a person is more supreme because of their skin color, because of their national origin, because of their faith. This twisted ideology that claims the lives of so many, because of socioeconomic status, because of politics of the day. We are here to reject it in all its forms with everything that we have, and we have to. We reject it because there have been too many cries and the heart has reverberated with too many pangs of sorrow and the soul has cried with too many burials of people who must die because of hatred. But I also want to make sure that you understand that none of this happens in a vacuum. 2016, a CARE report came out along with the University of California of Berkeley that saw $206 million being pumped into the Islamophobia industry. 2017, we see a 17% increase of hate crimes. This is not my numbers, this is the FBI numbers. 58% of hate crimes were motivated by race, ethnicity, and ancestry. The Southern Poverty Law Center tells us that domestic extremism is up by 7%, hate crimes are up. 1,020 groups have been identified as hate groups. White nationalistic groups in particular have grown by almost more than 50% from 2017. And we see in other studies that 268 right-wing extremists prosecuted in federal courts were prosecuted not under the terrorism laws that they should have applied to them, but rather under other laws that seem, whereas terrorism is always the law that's prosecuted against anyone with the slightest affiliation to Islam. And it's of no wonder, really, it's of no surprise, because 80% of narratives in the media that portray Muslims is a negative portrayal. And so we're here to understand as people of faith, but also of people of knowledge who understand the systemic racism that we see. Malcolm X warned us, didn't he? He told us to be careful. He told us the newspapers will have you hating the people that are being oppressed and have you loving the people who are doing the oppression. You see, it's this relentless messaging of dehumanization and hatred that creates this animosity, that emboldens the extremists to act with hatred and attacks and murders and massacres. And the Islamophobes, they keep peddling the idea that terrorism is owned by one group of people. But we know that terrorism has no religion. We say it loudly and clearly. We understand that terrorism is antithetical to faith. It is antithetical to God's mercy. It is antithetical to God's love. It is antithetical to God's peace. It is antithetical to compassion and justice. And I am very hopeful today, looking at your bright, beautiful faces, that together, if we stand shoulder to shoulder, we can defeat the racism and the hatred that is sweeping through our country and the world. We have the responsibility to challenge the media, to challenge racism, to challenge Islamophobia, xenophobia, white supremacists. I am hopeful that we can illuminate the very darkest corners of hate. I am hopeful that if we stand together, we can shut down those politicians who spew hate with our votes. I am hopeful that we can shut down the mega corporations who use their platform to spew hate through our advertising dollars. I am hopeful that as citizens, as friends, as neighbors, we can create our own narrative, a truthful narrative, one that recognizes and affirms the dignity of every single human being. We together, you and I, we together as New Yorkers and as family in this world of humanity, I am hopeful that we have this responsibility and that we can shoulder it with success and love and dignity, that we can protect one another and create a legacy that is rooted in a common cause for justice, equality, compassion for all. That is you and me together. Now let me hear you. Can we do it? Yes! Do we love one another? Yes! Will we shut down hate? Yes! Will we take our dollars elsewhere when somebody seeks to profit through division?
That's right.
Will we vote and get those politicians out who want to divide us?
Inshallah.
Are we committed?
Inshallah.
Are we dedicated?
Inshallah.
Will we show up day after day? My brothers and my sisters, you have my determination. I feed off of your determination. We will bring it to the next generation, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Stand murdering men, women, and children. The whole system has the blood on its hands. And I don't care if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican that supports Israel and the theft of the land of the Palestinians, you're all guilty of genocide. This is a country founded on slavery and genocide. Brought black people to this country in chains. What kind of system does all this? I'll tell you what kind of system does this. It's a system that cannot be reformed. It's a system that must be overthrown. We need a revolution, nothing less. And then Bob Avakian, the chairman of the Revolutionary Communist Party, we have the strategy and the leadership for a real revolution. And in closing, I want to share with you, go to revcom.us, revcom.us, and learn about this revolution. And if you're not down for revolution, we still got to come together. I don't care if you're Muslim, atheist, Jewish, Christian, whatever. We have to come together, and we have to unite to drive out this Trump-Pence regime. And let me close with this. RefuseFascism.org, RefuseFascism.org. We have a plan and a strategy to start with thousands of people in the major cities, growing to 10,000 in the different kind of protests, going every day, not stopping day after day, growing to hundreds of thousands and millions until our one demand is met. This nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America, driving out this regime as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We need this kind of passion from our allies. We need this kind of support from our allies. So thank you always to the allies who have shown solidarity and true commitment to the cause against white supremacy. Next up, we have Abu Ahmed Nur al-Zaman, Vice President of Muslim Ummah of North America. Please welcome him.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be with you all, inshallah. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming and showing your solidarity against the hate and all those bigotry. 50 people, while they were praying, they've been shot dead. What was their crime? What was their crime, brothers and sisters? What was their crime? So we need to come together and raise our voice and action against all those people. The problem with the good people, they are very good, and they are disunited. That's why nothing can be done. So brothers and sisters, for peace and security, and for our future, and our human existence, we need to come together, inshallah. And my next point is to the leaders, religious or political. Watch out what you say. Watch out. Words are very powerful. They create hate, and they create that kind of situations that we cannot come out, maybe. So leaderships, national, local, any level, please watch out what you say. I hope the good people will come together, they get united, they will raise their voice against bigotry, Islamophobia, and against anything that is evil. We all get together for good, and we stand against all evils, inshallah. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, and raise your voice, inshallah.
Is not superior over a non-Arab, nor is a non-Arab superior over an Arab. A white man is not superior over a black man, nor is a black man superior over white man, except by righteousness. This statement, this paragraph, shocks and scares every racist. Why? Because it equalizes all of us in the eyes of God. Doesn't matter the color, the culture, what sport you like, what food you like. It matters who is the best person, who's helping and giving back to others. This is the person that's the highest in the eyes of God. So while they go around and say, make America great again, we will say, let's make racists afraid again. And one of the next speakers is that person to make them afraid again, is our brother Imam Talib, the Amir of the Association of the African American Imams. Please come to the stage, brother. Takbir!
Allahu Akbar!
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar!
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar!
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear brothers and sisters, friends and allies, we thank Almighty God. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us together this day for a long overdue gathering. And this long overdue gathering is for the Muslim community to join the rest of humanity in standing for justice. This long overdue rally is for all of us to assert our common humanity against a common enemy. Let me hear you say that. Common humanity.
Common humanity.
No, come on now. Common humanity.
Common humanity.
Against a common enemy.
Against a common enemy.
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, he said, Kull nas banu Adam wa Adam khuliqat min at-turab, he said. Every human being is a child of Adam, and Adam was created from dust. So this should remind those of us who are in the Muslim community that we cannot come out just when something happens to Muslims. We cannot just stand up when Muslims are murdered. We must stand up when human beings are murdered. We cannot stand for justice for ourselves and not stand for justice for the rest of humanity. It is a common humanity, and our common humanity, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of skin color, male or female, young or elder, our common humanity must step forward and stand against a common enemy. Who is the common enemy? Allah tells us in the Quran that the common enemy is shaitan. The common enemy is Satan. Allah says in the Quran, Inna shaitan lil insani aduwwan mubin. Surely Satan, surely the devil, surely shaitan is an enemy to humanity. So we have to understand as people of faith that when we see churches being bombed, that's an act of Satan. When we see people kicking in the doors of churches, that's an act inspired by Satan. When we see people rolling into mosques and pulling guns and gunning down innocent men, women, and children, that's an act inspired by Satan, and we have to call it out, and we have to identify it for what it is. Allah teaches us in the Quran. Allah teaches us in the Quran. Allah teaches us in the Quran that shaitan whispers and inspires. And I am here today to remind you on behalf of the brothers and sisters, men, women, and children of the Mosque of Islamic Brotherhood, to remind you on behalf of the Association of African American Imams, to remind you on behalf of the Muslim Alliance in North America that we in America have a common enemy. And that common enemy are the white supremacists. And the white supremacists and their evil ideology, their evil satanically inspired ideology is responsible for the taking of millions of lives throughout the world, not just the Muslim lives, but the lives of human beings. So we say, we stand in opposition to white supremacy. And frankly, it's about time that the Muslim community as a whole woke up to the reality of white supremacy in America. So we thank Allah. We thank Allah. We thank Allah, and we ask Him to unite us against the common enemy. I want to remind you, we live in New York City, and the same people, the same ideology, the same type of thinking that was responsible for the killing of human beings in New Zealand is the same type of thinking and the same ideology that took lives of human beings in the synagogue in Pittsburgh.
That's right.
It's the same thinking, the same type of human beings that murdered people in black churches, not just recently, but decade after decade after decade. So stand up and see yourself as part of a common humanity standing against a common enemy. And remember, lastly, don't make this a rally just about immigration. Did you hear what I said? Don't just make this a rally about immigration, because I got news for you. Everybody in America isn't an immigrant. Did you hear what I said? Everybody in America is not an immigrant. So if you make this into an immigration rally, you leave out our Native American brothers and sisters who are not immigrants. If you make this into an immigration rally, you leave out those of us who are in Africa, who are African Americans, because we are not immigrants. As Malcolm X said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. And so we oppose white supremacy in all of its form. Hitler was a white supremacist. Have you forgotten that? Have you forgotten that Hitler was a white supremacist and that these Nazis in Charlottesville are white supremacists? But remember that when this land was taken from the Native Americans, Nazism had not yet come to America. When my African ancestors were kidnapped from the land of their birth and brought here by force, there was no such thing as Nazism in America. So stand for truth, stand for justice, and remember the words of Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, Malcolm X, who said, stand up, and whoever doesn't stand for something will lie down for anything. It's time past for us to be laying down, and it's time to stand for justice, and to do it in a way that will earn us the blessings of Allah. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Takbir! 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 Walillahi alhamd.
Prayers are awakened. They have not vanished. As our Holy Quran teaches us, we cannot consider them deceased. Their legacy lives on in New Zealand, in Turkey, even in Times Square, and all around the world. Their legacy lives in the hearts of 1.8 billion Muslims, and in the hearts of millions of non-Muslims all around the world. Our hearts are broken, but we are not. We Muslims and the people with conscience around the world are gathered in solidarity, stronger than ever. The world has not seen such a unifying force as we represent the peaceful message of Islam. This kind of evil act shall not scare us. Thank you to my fellow countrymen in the US,